Logan Brooks wasn't expecting trouble that morning. He was just unlocking his own door after a long shift when the woman across the street froze, stared, then screamed one word that flipped the whole neighborhood upside down. "Burglar!" And before Logan could even turn, 5 phones were already recording. Every eye saw a black man with a duffel bag. Nobody saw the truth inside it. A U.S. Marshal badge. What happened next reshaped that street forever. Martha Jenkins prided herself on being the eyes of the neighborhood. 20 years in the same quiet American suburb had convinced her she understood everything that happened on her street. She knew which kids cut across lawns, which dogs barked at shadows, and which porch lights flickered after 10 p.m. So when she spotted an unfamiliar black man struggling with the lock of the newly sold house across from hers, her mind didn't slow down to ask questions. It raced straight into fear. Logan Brooks had just finished a grueling 14-hour shift tracking a fugitive, the kind of night where your bones feel heavier than your badge. His hands shook from exhaustion as he tried to slide his key into the lock. He wasn't breaking in. He was simply trying to go home. But fatigue can make even the simplest tasks look suspicious to the wrong pair of eyes. From her window, Martha saw sweat on his brow, a duffel bag at his feet, and frustration in his movements. She didn't see the exhaustion of a federal officer who had risked his life. She didn't see a man standing on his own porch. She saw danger. Her breath tightened. Her fingers curled around her phone. And with a trembling voice that carried more assumptions than truth, she whispered to 911. "Someone's breaking into the house across the street. I think we have a burglar." The dispatcher's voice was calm, but Martha's anxiety sharpened every sound. Sirens echoed in the distance. Neighbors peeked through blinds. Within minutes, 2 squad cars glided into the driveway, red and blue lights washing over the quiet cul-de-sac. Logan looked up, confused, as officers stepped out with their hands hovering over their holsters. His heart didn't race. He was trained for chaos. But his spirit sank. He knew what this looked like, and he knew exactly who made that call. One officer shouted, "Sir, step back from the door!" Logan raised his hand slowly, calm but weary, like a man who had carried this scene before. "Officers," he said in a steady voice that silenced the street, "before we let this go any further, let me show you what she didn't see." He knelt, opened his duffel bag, and what came next would rewrite the entire narrative of that morning. The entire street held its breath as Logan knelt beside his duffel bag. It was the kind of silence that presses on your chest, the kind that turns seconds into long, echoing minutes. Even the officers' radios crackling at their hips seemed too loud for a moment like this. Martha, standing behind the police tape an officer had hastily thrown up, clasped a trembling hand over her mouth. She had never seen a burglary unfold in real life. She expected shouting, chaos, someone running. What she didn't expect was the calmness, the stillness, the dignity of the man she had just labeled a criminal. Logan unzipped the duffel bag slowly, deliberately. He knew any sudden movement would be misread. He'd seen it happen to men who looked like him. He'd held dying hands, listened to final breaths, all because someone saw fear instead of a person. He wasn't about to let this escalate. The officers stiffened, hands hovering over their weapons, not drawn, but almost there. Every neighbor watching felt the tension coil tightly like a rope waiting to snap. Then Logan paused. He looked up at the officers, not defiant, not afraid, just tired. So deeply tired. "Officers," he said, voice steady but weighted with fatigue, "I'm going to reach into my bag and show you what I carry for a living. Please, keep your eyes open." Slowly, so slowly he could have been moving underwater, Logan lifted a small black case from the bag. The street fell even quieter. He flipped it open. The sun caught the gold first, then the lettering, then the truth. U.S. Marshal, Special Operations Division. a badge that had chased cartel leaders, rescued trafficking victims, and walked into danger more times than Martha had walked to her mailbox. One officer blinked hard, like his eyes needed a moment to process what they were seeing. Another stepped forward, shoulders sagging with relief and embarrassment. "Oh, sir, Mr. Brooks," he stammered. You're a marshal." Logan didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He just closed the badge case with a quiet click that hit harder than any words. "I live here," he said softly. "This is my house." A wave of shame rolled through the officers first, then the neighbors, then Martha. The officer nearest Martha walked toward her. His tone wasn't angry, just heavy. "Ma'am," he said, "he's not a suspect. He's federal law enforcement. You just reported a U.S. Marshal for breaking into his own home." Martha felt like the ground beneath her shifted. Her anger turned to confusion. Her confusion turned to guilt. Her guilt turned to fear, not of Logan, but of herself. I didn't know," she whispered, voice cracking. "I thought I was helping. He looked frustrated. I thought—" She didn't finish the sentence. They all knew what she had thought. Logan finally stood, shoulders tired, eyes low but voice calm. "You didn't call because you saw danger," he said steadily. "You called because you didn't see me." The words weren't loud, but they cut through the air sharper than any shout. He continued, "I had a long night chasing someone who actually was dangerous. Came home tired trying to open my own front door. And before I could even breathe, I became a suspect." The officers exchanged looks, unsure whether to apologize or disappear. "We're sorry, Marshal Brooks," one finally said. "We thought we were responding to a break-in. We should have assessed better." Logan nodded once. "It's fine. You did your job. But this—" He gestured gently toward Martha. "This is what could have gone wrong. Very wrong." The officers lowered their heads. The neighbors lowered their phones. Martha felt her face burn with a regret she couldn't put into words. She saw a man she had misjudged, a man who risked his life for people he would never meet. And she realized she had nearly put his life at risk because of a story she told herself inside her own head. Logan took a slow breath. "I just want to go inside," he said. "I just want to sleep." And finally, the street exhaled. The officers backed away. The cruiser lights dimmed. Neighbors retreated into their homes, closing blinds with guilt instead of curiosity. But Martha couldn't move, because something in her chest had cracked wide open. She hadn't just misjudged a man, she had misjudged a neighbor, a protector, a human being. And she knew. She owed him more than an apology. She owed him understanding. She owed him change. She owed him the truth. That night, the street felt different. Not louder, not busier, just heavier. Like everyone could still feel the weight of what almost happened. The lights on the houses glowed quietly like a row of porch lamps trying to apologize. But none glowed as late as Martha Jenkins' light. She sat at her kitchen table, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee she had reheated 3 times but never touched. Every few minutes, she looked out the window at Logan's house across the street, the house she had nearly turned into a crime scene with one phone call. Her mind replayed the moment he lifted the badge. Replay, replay, replay. Each time the truth hit harder. She hadn't seen a man. She had seen a fear she invented. And the guilt of that dug deep. Finally, after an hour of wrestling with her conscience, she stood. Her knees shook, her breath stuttered. But she knew this wasn't a moment she could run from. She crossed the street slowly, almost like walking through a memory she wished she could rewrite. When she reached Logan's porch, she paused, heart pounding, and knocked softly. For a few seconds, nothing. Then the door opened. Logan stood there. No badge, no uniform. Just a tired man in a gray t-shirt and sweatpants, eyes red from lack of sleep and the emotional exhaustion of a day that should have ended quietly. Martha swallowed hard. Her voice came out small, fragile. "Logan, may I speak with you for a moment?" Logan didn't say yes. Didn't say no. He simply stepped aside and gestured for her to enter. The living room was simple, barely furnished. Boxes still lined the wall. He had only moved in 3 days earlier, and this was not the welcome any neighbor deserved. They sat across from each other, Martha on the couch edge, Logan in an armchair. For a long moment, the only sound was the whispering hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Then Martha's voice cracked open. "I judged you today," she said, eyes shining. "I judged you before you even said a word. I didn't ask. I didn't think. I just reacted. And I'm so sorry. Truly." Logan wiped a hand across his face, not in frustration, in fatigue. "I know you didn't mean harm," he said softly, "but harm almost happened anyway." Martha leaned forward, guilt pouring out in every word. "I didn't call because you looked suspicious," she whispered. "I called because I didn't see a neighbor. I didn't see a new homeowner. I just saw a story I made up in my head. And I hate that about myself right now." Logan nodded slowly. "This isn't the first time something like this has happened," he said. "And that's the part that gets heavy, Martha, because every time it happens, I have to carry it. Not just as a man, but as a black man. People don't see the badge first. They see the skin first. And that can be dangerous." Martha's eyes filled. "I didn't realize. I didn't understand. I never thought I could be part of the problem." Logan leaned forward now, meeting her eyes. "You're not the only one," he said. "We all make assumptions, but the real question is what we do after the truth shows up. Do we hide? Do we defend ourselves? Or do we learn?" Martha exhaled shakily. "I want to learn." Those 4 words softened something in the room. Logan nodded, the tension in his shoulders easing just a little. "You know," he said, voice gentler now, "I joined the Marshals because I wanted to protect people. All people. Even the ones who look at me like I'm trouble. That's my job. That's my oath. But it does hurt. When your own neighbors see you as a suspect before they see you as a person." Martha's hands trembled on her lap. "You're right," she whispered. "And I'm sorry. I won't forget this. I won't make this mistake again." Logan gave a small, tired smile. That's all anyone can ask. A quiet peace settled between them. Not perfect, not complete, but real. Martha stood, ready to leave him to his rest. At the door, she turned back. "Logan," she said softly, "I'm glad you moved here. And I hope this neighborhood becomes a place where you feel safe, not questioned." Logan nodded once. "That means more than you know." She walked back across the street feeling changed in a way she couldn't explain. And Logan, for the first time since the incident, exhaled a long, slow breath. The kind you release when a wound finally begins to close. From that day forward, the neighborhood didn't just see Logan as the new guy or as the black man next door. They saw him as Marshall Brooks, as a neighbor, as a protector, as a human being who showed grace when the world gave him every reason not to. If this story moved you, follow for more powerful USA-based stories that open hearts and open eyes. Share this. Someone needs this perspective today.